Suddenly, it seems mushrooms are everywhere, in our food and in our drinks. People seem to be seriously interested in the health benefits of mushrooms, using them in various forms of medicine and, of course, for recreational purposes. Their importance cannot be overstated. Without fungi, the very essence of the world as we know it would crumble. Imagine no plants, no forest. Our ecosystems rely on the silent partner, the fungi. These mycelial networks, the unseen architects, are hard at work as they weave through nature, crafting the intricate ecosystems that sustain life as we know it on this planet. But yet, much like cannabis, mushrooms have long dwelled in the shadows, overshadowed by misconceptions and untruths. So today, we plan on demystifying this magical fungi as we take a journey into a facility rarely seen by the public, Optimi Health, a Canadian drug manufacturer licensed by Health Canada to grow natural GMP-grade psilocybin and other functional mushrooms, focusing on health and wellness. I'll introduce you to Scott Marshall, the head of mycology of cultivation at Optimi Health. And with the cameras rolling, he dives deep into how mushrooms reproduce, letting us all in on the secrets of how mushrooms come to life. From reproduction to cultivation, the level of detail will blow your mind. Later, we'll traverse further into the heart of Optimi as we discover the fruiting chamber and the mycelial bin. While its purpose is quite simple, what we discover is this industry-leading bin has been constructed with a lot of thought, all with the aim to grow mushrooms effortlessly and in a convenient container. You'll learn all of that on an exclusive tour of the manufacturing facility with Rob from mycelial Bins. By the end of that, I'll have Rob convinced to let me take one of these bins home. I'm gonna take the whole pile and I'm gonna grow a shit ton of mushrooms so I can cultivate gourmet mushrooms in my very own kitchen. From showing you what the pros are doing on one of the largest grows in the world, to a live demonstration on how you too can start a small grow of your own. This special edition of Growing Exposed is going to be a real trip. We're in Princeton, British Columbia, and this is not another cannabis garden. This is a mushroom garden. I'm here with Scott at Optimi, and if you don't know about psilocybin, we're gonna find out a whole bunch more right now.
That's right. So at this facility, primarily what we're doing is psilocybes, which is a genus of mushroom that is containing the psilocybin, developing a product that can go eventually to market and be completely stable and be 100% organic. So all of our products that are in here are with a full COA. So we can prove they are free of pesticides and heavy metals. We are generally cultivating mushrooms at scale. I think we are the largest cultivators in Canada, if not North America, with the regulation that we do have. And we are doing it well. There is a lot of potential here.
What are we gonna see today?
Today we are gonna see start to finish cultivation. We're gonna go all the way through the genetics. We're gonna do some lab work. I'm gonna show you everything from the equipment to the facility itself to our vault full of mushrooms.
Basically, we're gonna see everything from A to Z, start to finish.
You got it. I'm really happy that you guys are here. Welcome. And yeah, this is Optimi Health.
Let's go check it
out. Welcome to the lab. This is sort of my home base. This is where I do all of our culture work, from spore propagation all the way through genetic breeding, stabilization, and isolations. We've got a culture station and 2 inoculation stations. We are running off of peristaltic pumps. This is a very new technique that we've developed here and we're putting into play, so we simultaneously work off of the same cultivar and remain sterile at all times.
So one of the things I automatically notice is you've got UV lights and you can actually smell ozone in the air.
That's right. So before we come into the laboratory, we activate the UV lightings. Competing fungi, competing bacteria, they will outgrow the mycelium 100 to 1. So anytime that there is any sort of contamination, it will lose out in the ultimate race for nutrition, right? This is why we take all these extra precautions to ensure that when we're coming in here and we're working in this environment, that we are maintaining the most sterile and aseptic conditions possible. I'm just going to do a couple transfers for you guys. You can check it out. 2 spores will mate and they will become mycelium.
So the spores are actually male, female?
Yeah, well, they'll have to find each other. They'll have two hyphal strands, they meet, they'll connect, and then they'll form
Is it hot?
mycelium. Is it hot? Yeah, microscopically hot. Yeah, you got it. Perfect. Amazing. What we have here is an agar medium. This is MEA, which is a malt extract, and 5 grams of peptone. So this particular one is a nice specimen. This is a very dark spore print. So inside here, the underside of a cap of golden Burma Psilocybe cubensis mushroom.
Okay.
And within what you see here is anywhere from 100,000 to over 1 million spores, male and female. And we are going to collect some onto a sterile swab. This is a proper technique for proper germination and the introduction to mycelium in the vegetative network of the mushroom. So if this were to be a mushroom, it would be inverted like this, and I would be rolling the swab like this to collect spores onto my swab. So you don't need a lot, you just need to get some collection. So I'm just going to put the lid back on there to keep that sterile. And for streaking on agar, what you want to do is you want to do a zigzag pattern back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's very faint, but you can almost see where you transition into another direction. That's where you'll primarily see the most colonization or the most germination, is because this is where you rotate and drop off spores the most, right?
Neat.
So each time that you move in any direction, you have a chance to have a new colony. And each colony is a potential phenotype or a multitude of phenotypes depending on how many mate. And then after that, you're going to want to select one of your most dominant or prolific colonies.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want to try to isolate the phenotypes down. You can get there through simple identification techniques, which I will show you on the next couple plates. So this here is a clone biopsy that I've taken off of a mushroom previously. When you're looking to propagate blindly in an isolation, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to find the most prolific patterns and growth, which is called rhizomorphic growth. As you can see here, they look almost like armatures or veins or roots, that's right. And you're wanting to select one, not them all. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to reduce the phenotypes down to a single phenotype. So anytime the mycelium changes directions or grows in a different shape, that's a different phenotype.
That's fascinating. I didn't realize you could actually have multiple phenotypes on the same plate.
You can have up to 100 or plus easily.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking some biopsies here. This is my pickle grabber. This is just something that a few people in the mycology community adapted to take biopsies quite nicely. So it is quite hot, so usually I'll cool it down just so I don't burn or damage the mycelium. Once you shatter the mycelium, just like a worm, if you cut a worm, it will grow in both directions.
Okay.
So it will grow at its apex. The more you shatter it, the more apexes that you have, the faster the mycelium will colonize. So I'm just going to make some simple selections. So I try to stamp it out. And this is how we isolate the phenotype away from the rest of the phenotype. So what you want to do is very carefully remove the biopsy and land it on your plate. So now we have this, and this will continue to grow out and develop, and then we will further isolate this if we need to. Each time that we do propagate another transfer, we're counting cellular division. So I like to stay as close as I can to the base cell count. I don't want to go too many more over.
Okay.
So by the time this transfers out and goes into my liquid nutrient, I want this to have as much vigor and as much force or growth, positive growth as I can get, right?
Basically give it the best start possible.
100%. So now that we have the mycelium that is ready for transfer, what we're going to want to do is add it to its liquid solution. This is a nutrient broth, and this is how we inoculate the main substrate source, which is the grain spawn. This is going to colonize and eat all of the nutrients in here, and then this will be called a liquid inoculant. So this is how we can transfer and inoculate mass volume without having to make a massive amount of plates. So to transfer into the liquid medium, we just want to be very careful and collect the biopsies very neatly and drop them into the liquid nutrient. So there you are, there's a transfer, very clean, very accurate. You don't want to drop it, you don't want to fumble too much, and you don't want to contaminate it, because the liquid nutrient, you can't visibly view contamination like you can on a plate.
Okay.
So you have to be very careful when you're adding the inoculant into it. We use distilled water here, and then we also use a nutrient broth, which comes from the grain soak when we do grain preparation, because it identifies with the source when you do inoculations further, and it already recognizes its nutrient source.
It's basically home.
It's already ready to go.
Next step in the process is, this is obviously sterile grain.
So this is a sterile fall rye. So we've hydrated to the ECM, which is the equilibrium of somewhere between 30 to 35%. This is the highest value that it can carry without bursting or potentially contaminating it with overstarching or like thereof.
Hydrating rye is an art by itself.
Grain preparation is a serious game. A lot of the people along the way, they lose interest and or they find their most struggles with just grain prep. Especially the more you scale up, the more variables you're adding, right?
Yeah, but you can do this at home. If you're clean and you're sterile,
that's right.
You can do your own.
You can do it as small scale as a few jars, or you can do it as big scale as we are here today. The great part about it is the time from start to finish. You know, you're looking at about half the time to grow cannabis per cycle too, and you get consecutive flushing as well, which is super cool because you can access your medicine very quickly and you don't need a huge investment as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to inoculate. So right here, this is a self-healing port, which we're going to inject through. So we have our liquid mycelium in a bioreactor here now. It is turning to continuously break up the mycelium that's in there. And the purpose of this is to ensure that when you're inoculating, you're getting consistent mycelium amounts per inoculation. This tube is coming from a peristaltic pump that I've set up and set to the parameters that I like to function with. I hit the pedal and it activates my pump. So it doesn't come out at a particularly aggressive volume, but it comes out consistently. What I'm wanting to do is insert it fully in there. So I'm just counting seconds, 10 seconds on the feed. There we go. As you can see, the bubble's chugging along there, it's inoculating. So one particular drop will likely inoculate the bag, but we like to use between 5 and 10 mils on a standard. This just ensures the mycelial growth is happening in a generally quicker time frame.
Yeah, makes sense.
So once that bag gets inoculated, what we want to do is we want to label it. We've got our nomenclature here, so there's no confusion. From this point on, it'll get put onto our trolley and brought into our incubation room for the next 30 days as it colonizes.
Attention growing exposed viewers. Unlock the magic of cultivating mushrooms at home with your own mycelial bins. Visit mycelialbins.com and use promo code GROWEXPOSED20 for a 20% discount on your order, plus free shipping on orders over $100 and up. Elevate your growing experience with mycelial bins, a simple and effective container for growing mushrooms indoors. Whether on a commercial scale or a home grower, don't miss this limited time offer for 20% off. Happy growing. I'm with Lee, and he designed and built this facility. This is very similar to a lot of cannabis cultivation.
It is. The parameters for growing mushrooms are slightly different than cannabis, obviously, but a lot of the theory as far as filtration, biosecurity, the materials we use when building the facility is the same in that sense. We do have what's called a makeup air system, which will heat, cool, humidify, dehumidify, and multiple levels of filtration to the air in this corridor specifically. We're filtered about 9 times before it actually makes it to any product. Wow. It's absolutely pure air. The fact that we're pressurized as well, infiltration is very, very low.
So all the cracks being positive pressure is pushing air out.
That's right. There's no silver bullet when it comes to biosecurity, but every step helps. The more steps you take, the higher chance of success.
Links in a chain.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, a lot of thought goes into this. Being a GMP building, and the idea is that we can export around the world, but the processes that you have to maintain, the areas you have to hit, it's so high level. There's a lot of boxes to tick. The littlest things that you just mostly wouldn't think about building a facility, you have to implement with this one.
So GMP meaning good manufacturing practices.
That's correct. Yes.
And that ensures that we're able to standardize and actually make a medicine.
That's right. Standardize, make a medicine, repeatable,
Yeah.
absolutely pure, time after time after time.
How many square feet are we looking at, building-wise?
Approximately 10,000 square feet, and we have another building next door, which is a mirror image of this one.
Okay, so substantial.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, from the floor to the walls to air filtration, you guys have not missed a beat. So for all intents and purposes, we've done the micropropagation, and now we're off to the incubation.
That's right. So once the grain spawn's been inoculated, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it into incubation for the next 30 days, and it's going to colonize the grain spawn fully.
Super.
So I'll take you in here now, and we'll check it out.
So this is basically your grain bag.
Yep, so there we have our rye, and this is fully inoculated and is now almost consolidated, which means it's almost consumed all of the nutrient values. So what we like to do is we like to shake it up, which you can do here now. So just crush it and feel the mycelial breaking. And what you're wanting to do is homogenize it to a point where we can find out if there's any contaminants looming on the inside or anywhere within the grain.
And that would be like a green mold or something that just looks discolored.
So on the recovery, what you'll find is competing fungi or molds, they will present themselves after this shake.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're damaging it, and then now it's gonna recover. And if it's good, we plant it. If it's bad, then off to the
discard.
Off to the recycling it goes.
Ultimately, from here, we go to the room that's the magic.
Let's go see some mushrooms.
Exciting. This is what it's all come down to.
All right. All right.
Scott, that's a lot of bins.
It is a lot of bins. So this room can hold up to 252 bins comfortably, 300 if we maximize it to the roof.
Amazing. So these are full fruiting bodies.
Yeah, so these are fully mature mushrooms that are ready for harvest. So the clear top is to allow light penetration, and light is a significant factor in mushroom growing. They do grow towards light.
Positive phototropism?
That's correct. So this is why they are clear. The particular growing environment can change depending on who you are and what your parameters are in your space. However, you don't need grow lights or any sort of extra lighting of any effect, really.
Just low light.
You could grow in your bedroom or in a closet with a lamp. Relative humidity is controlled within the bin, so with the temperature is the primary factor here. So as long as you can remain over 20 degrees Celsius, you should be fine. Room temperature is more than sufficient to grow mushrooms. Once the consolidation has happened and before primordials are forming, we want to burp it, drop the relative humidity below 99% and bring it back down to, anywhere from 80 to 85%. And then this is where the comfort zone is.
How many flushes can you get? And what is a flush?
So a flush is the mushrooms growing to maturity and then a harvest. So that would be, your first harvest would be your first flush. And then you would rehydrate the cake or the substrate, and then you would get subsequent flushes that would come up, and then you would harvest again, and then you would consider that your second and third and fourth harvest, or your flush.
Who makes these bins?
These are a max yield bin. I believe they're comparable to a Sterlite 64 quart in size, and they are one of the first companies from Canada that has developed a monotub for home and commercial cultivation. They separate right here at the base, so it's easy harvest. They're fantastic to work with. With a little bit of understanding on how to perform in a monotub, you can really excel your game.
So why use a bin versus a bag?
Well, for several reasons, actually. You get a much higher yield using a bin. As you can see here, is a prime example. You can, again, expect up to 1,800 grams per flush or per tub when you're using a bin, versus a bag where you're limited to approximately 600 to 800. So with a bag, it's a single harvest, and then it's actually going in the garbage, and due to using a lot more plastic and waste plastic is the most important thing, right? So with the bins, these are a lifetime purchase and they last forever.
Yeah.
And you can just keep reusing it, and it's a one-time cost, and I think that's important.
So obviously climate control is very important.
It is. It's the most important. Once you get to that stage, colonization, obviously you want to beat out the competing bacteria or molds, and then once you get to that stage, you're now consolidated and you're about to fruit. So this is where the shift in patterns is taking place, and the organism is preparing itself for the end of its life cycle. So this is the most important part, and knowing and understanding your environment is the utmost importance.
Amazing. So that's the delicate balancing act. You're right at where molds and bacteria like to grow.
Yeah.
But we've colonized this specific species.
This is also why we have the containment of the monotub is also to keep other factors out and control the variables of contamination.
All the parameters you've done, from micropropagation to sterilization to every single element within every link in the chain, has got you to this point, and that's a beautiful tub of mushrooms.
Thank you. Yeah, it's taken a lifetime to get here, but yeah, we're here.
Amazing. We're gonna go check out the manufacturing of mycelial bins, and looking forward to showing you guys these and why they work so well. Now this is about an hour away from our headquarters. It's beautiful up here.
Yeah, this is Pacific Northwest. This is what it's all about. This is why we are where we are.
We can live anywhere in the world. We can choose to live anywhere we want. We love living here.
I agree. First kayaks ever in this lake, probably ever.
I would hazard a guess and say first human beings on this lake. I mean, this is a glacial-fed lake. We're up here to demonstrate how beautiful and how clean our water is, and the environment that we have and care and protect. Every little bit of Green Planet nutrients encompasses this. The purest, cleanest water, the highest quality source nutrients. We care very much about ensuring that your plants get the best nutrition possible.
All the water that we get comes from lakes and glaciers like this.
One major advantage we have over every other nutrient manufacturer globally.
I think Green Planet's gonna have a major role in the future of the industry. We're innovators, we create new products every day, and we'll be at the forefront of the movement. We're quality focused, we're result based. We have to make sure that the end user has a positive experience every single time they use a Green Planet product.
I'm with Rob from Mycelial Bins, and we were at Optimi, and we saw your bins being used in real world use. And we found out that Mycelial Bins are made literally in British Columbia down the street. And we wanted to find out more. So Rob, tell us a little about your product.
Mycelial Bins basically specializes in tools and supplies used for mushroom cultivation. The idea was just we would sell those to the people that were already buying the substrate and grain from us, thinking, okay, here's a full kit, turnkey, ready to go.
Yeah.
And what we quickly found out was that it wasn't only those people that wanted this product. Like, we weren't thinking that we were gonna go and start a website and sell one tote to one person.
Yeah.
It was always just like, okay, here's 100 to go with your 100 bags, and on you go. And what happened is real quickly we made a website, and all of a sudden there's people buying 1, 2, 3, and really kind of getting this push from like media. I put one Instagram post on it with just the bin, and people were like, this is genius, this is groundbreaking. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know, a lid and a base, a black part and a clear lid, but there was a really big need for this product. Like I said, it was just, there was no other commercial ready solution. And of course, like, you know, our biggest competitor then and our biggest competitor now is the person that wants to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And you know, all the power to those people. Like, you can save a couple bucks, but at the end of the day, getting a designed product specifically for your need, ready to go, without that frustration of trying to do it yourself, it makes a big difference. And
necessity is always the mother of invention. When you can actually take something that people need, hone it, design it, and bring it to them, it's always pretty cool.
over the course of 3 years, like, I don't think we ever expected the company to get to where we're at now. And I think we've been pretty amazed by it, and I think that we're still relatively new and scratching the surface as to where this kind of market's going and where we see people applying need for these products. And you know, like you went and visited Optimi, right? Like that's a top of the line commercial client that's using these products on a commercial scale.
Yeah.
And then we have people that are experimenting for, you know, whether it's science, homegrown food, nutrition, health and wellness. Mushrooms and the mush rush, I guess some people would call it, have so many applications that are coming in new wave.
Yeah.
And mycelial bins is kind of along at the starting journey for no matter what kind of application you're looking for.
Industries evolve, technology, professionals, there's the R&D component, all these things come into it, and people build better bow straps. And that's what you guys have done. And it's exciting to see how this industry now is going to evolve. And it's one of the things I'm most excited about, actually, about this episode, is growing exposed. We're exposing a different type of growing, but it doesn't only have to do with cannabis. I've always been an advocate of how this can change and help people's lives. It's pretty cool to be part of it, and I think you've really nailed it with this. I'm with Lance from Pacific Injection Molding. He's the owner of this company, and you've been doing this a long time.
We've been at it for 52 years now.
And my understanding is when they first came to you, you're like, we're gonna sell a couple thousand of these things.
You know, when I first saw the product and I didn't know the background of the product, I thought, uh-oh, here we go. He's gonna spend a ton of money and then it's just gonna fall off a cliff. And I was entirely wrong, 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Because in the 3 years we've been doing tens of thousands of these containers.
What makes that product so special?
It's FDA approved plastic, and all the materials that go into the product is FDA approved. It means that you're going to have a product that comes out of the bin that's not dangerous for human consumption.
There's no room for cutting corners.
Absolutely. We've seen it before. A lot of products that come out of China have heavy lead in the plastics. What they do is they'll reprocess old plastic into a part, make it into beads, and then sell it as original product. There's no real quality control when it comes offshore.
So resting assured that something's made in North America, you have the quality control, you have the assurances, and ultimately you pay for that as a consumer.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I mean, safety is important. It's important for all of us.
It's number one. I don't want to consume mushrooms that are toxic.
No.
Like that's paramount to me. What exactly is injection molding?
Injection molding is the process of heating up plastic beads and injecting it into a mold. The way that happens is that the plastic drops into the machine and it goes through what they call a reciprocating screw, and it backs up and loads up a shot of plastic. Then the mold will close, and then the plastic is rammed in under pressure, probably about 1,800 pounds per square inch, into the mold. Part cools in the mold. Meanwhile, the machine is reloading for the next shot, opens, the robot grabs it and drops it on the conveyor. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. To make
parts.
this, it seems it's not something you do in your backyard.
No, the equipment that we use to manufacture mycelial bins, it's all brand new equipment. We purchased it all last year. We want the very best and the very best automation as well. And this is our first kick at the can with automation, and working with MaxShield has made that possible.
One more reason why mycelial bins are at the top of their game. So Rob, what's next for mycelial bins?
We're actually adding new products to our product offering. We're going to get some liquid cultures added to our variety so we can really provide people with a purchase and start growing turnkey solution. We're excited to be bringing a reputable partner in-house. Justin, so we're going to set you up with a full mycelial bins kit. We got the sub and grain that we'll get to you as well. And we're stoked for you to start trying to grow some mushrooms yourself and see what you come up with.
All right, listen, from what I know about cannabis, you can only, it's very difficult to only grow one plant. So I'm gonna take the whole pile and I'm gonna grow a shit ton of mushrooms.
That's perfect.
See you later.
I'll come and help you set them up.
I'm out of here.
When I started this over 10 years ago, I was growing it and harvesting it. But nobody was really talking about what was going on inside this plant. Outside, you'll see plant material, which is primarily carbon and water. And it's only after a closer look you discover this beautiful world of trichomes. And it's here that you find the substance which gives cannabis the effect that it has. Now that I know it's all about trichome production, I use resin. Try it, you're gonna be blown away.
This is exciting. We've now seen the commercial facility and now we get to see the at-home kit. We're in the kitchen because these are gonna be oyster mushrooms for culinary purposes. And I'm a huge fan of mushrooms. Little garlic, white wine,
Yeah.
and oyster mushrooms, you're off to a good night. Rob, do you wanna show us a little about it?
Absolutely, thanks for having me. So here we have 70% ISO. This is important and not to go higher grade because the higher grade actually dissolves before it actually sterilizes the surface. So if you use a
no kidding.
99%, it's gonna evaporate and not actually clean the surface.
Oh, that's important.
So 70% is the one you wanna use. We have that in the spray bottle here. Spray basically the whole tub, inside and outside. We're gonna let that sit. Cover all the holes along the base.
Pretty basic.
Yep. Inside
Beautiful.
bin. Typically, you would have your grain bag, and this is what you're going to be injecting your liquid culture in. It's going to take a bit of time for your culture to grow and achieve this.
And this is mycelium enriched grain, basically.
And then here we have our sub, which we are going to use today. People do experiment kind of as they please, but we think for the, in our trials, we found the best results 2-to-1. No casing layer, which is a big plus about using our bin, especially using this colonizer lid here. This is gonna speed up that early stage of growth. So you're gonna wanna spray the bag.
Okay. All sides.
All sides, that's right.
Let that sit for a second.
Yeah, let that sit. You can spray this blade. We'll get this out of your way. Yeah, and you'll wanna break it up, get it loose so it's easier to distribute.
Okay. And basically just pour.
Yeah, pour it in. And again, you're going to want a nice layer on the bottom and as well as a nice layer on the top.
And this is pre-sterilized cocoa coir, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. That's ready to go right out of the bag.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's good. So now you can just kind of move it around, spread it
Nice little
evenly.
flat layer.
Yeah.
Compaction doesn't matter.
No, we'll compact it kind of down once we get all the grain in, but for
Okay.
this time, we're just basically making the lasagna. So again,
Okay.
with the grain, you're gonna wanna kind of do the same thing where you break it up, get all those bits loose.
And we put about a third of this on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, this is a mycelium that's completely clean because we haven't seen any molds
Exactly.
when we looked at it. And
You-
if you start with molds, from my understanding, you're ruined right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. You'll know pretty quick if it's mold or not. You're gonna see some green, blue growth.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to adding our next layer of sub.
Literally mushroom lasagna, you're not kidding.
Quite literally.
Perfect. A little more of the next one.
Yep.
Nice even coat. If anything, I find this to be really fun.
Something you can do with your friends, with your family, children. I mean,
Totally. Just the idea of being able to actually grow your own mushrooms in your own house. You know, I'm a big fan of growing my own food, so why wouldn't I grow my own mushrooms? Beautiful.
so yeah, now we just want to make sure we cover it all, have no kind of grain exposed.
No grain exposed?
Yeah, no grain, just
or growing exposed.
that's right.
That's horrible.
Set you up for that one.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, so there we go.
Little grain there, and then
Yeah,
so now you
cover
can
it
just
up.
kind of give it a pat down.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like when it's all ready to go. And so basically this is kind of where it comes down to options. Like we have the colonizer lid here, which we've already given a spray down to. And this is what we would now put on here, seal it up. There's now no air entering or leaving the bin. We have the green painter's tape sealing the airflow on the bottom, and we have no holes on the top here. Alternatively, if you were going to do with the bin and didn't get the colonizer lid, You'd be adding the green painter's tape on top of all these holes as well, and then sealing that up. And again, this is gonna work perfectly fine. It's just gonna take a little bit longer to achieve the colonization stage compared to using this lid right here.
Okay.
Over the next 2 weeks, you're gonna watch the medium cake in here colonize. It's gonna basically create like a white mat all across, kind of like we saw in the grain. You'll start to see small pinsets starting to grow. Once you see those pinsets, then you're gonna know it's time to transition to fruiting. And now to promote the growth of the mushrooms, you need to let air enter the bin and begin to promote that growth.
Okay.
You still want to make sure that you're not letting contaminants in or out. It's important to not just have these holes completely exposed, because bacteria, other harmful things can get in and still ruin the growth. So that's why we have a breathable tape, like a micropore tape. This is kind of just medical grade paper tape. And at this stage, you'll be basically removing the green painter's tape, adding the micropore tape along the bottom.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing with the holes here, but alternatively, we have these filter discs, which are as simple as just the perfect fit for each hole. Let's see. They breathe, they're gonna keep all the harmful things out, they're gonna let airflow enter and leave, and then over the next 14 days, you're gonna watch mushrooms grow.
Beautiful. How do I know when to harvest?
You'll be able to tell kind of by watching like the caps. You want to get it when the veil of the cap is still intact. Once that veil opens and the kind of lips of the cap start to curl, it's probably getting either past or right at that stage. As soon as you can tell that it's past prime when they start dropping spores, and you'll see basically a bunch of fuzzy particles underneath the cap. At that point, you probably don't want to eat those mushrooms, or also you want to remove them before they drop the spores all over the bed, which would basically make it so that there's no second flush. To promote a second flush, you kind of need a little bit more a humidity kick. So usually you should be able to see if there's enough moisture on the surface, in which case you can just put the lid back on, no interference, ready to go. Alternatively, you could take a spray bottle if it was filled with water and just give it a light misting on the top before you put the lid back on and let it grow. That would kind of give them a second kick.
And obviously having the probe there.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a complete new product, which we're actually just excited to launch. It's called the Max Data, and it's made by a company based in California called 7 Sensor. And so basically this is a fancy piece of technology which would just replace one of these filter discs. It screws in with a nut. And so you put this in. It has a tight seal. And no air is getting in and out of that. It's a great piece of tech. That's obviously not necessary, but for that person that wants to understand trends, understand what's working, what's not, especially if you're experimenting with a new kind of substrate or a new kind of strain, understanding those kind of, that data is really helpful to get the best crop that you can.
And this also can tell me if I've had a problem.
Yeah, so you're gonna have the basically temperature in Celsius, Fahrenheit, you have the RH, which is your humidity level, you have your CO2 levels, you have your VOC, and a couple more trends. They're also coming out with an app that you'll be able to basically monitor all this kind of information on your phone.
It's incredible.
Yeah, really exciting.
I didn't even know tech like this existed, so.
I guess it's relatively new to the space, so we're excited. The guys here obviously came out with a great product, and my understanding is we're the first ones to kind of have it to market, and obviously it's a perfect fit with the max sealed bin, so.
Yeah, that's great.
We're excited to have it.
Super exciting. Well, let's get growing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the mushrooms turn out, and we'll check in with you later on to see how much fruits you have.
Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely, enjoy.
Appreciate it.
Post-harvest, we're gonna go check out the dry room. This is where all of the mushrooms are going to reduce their biomass by 90%, and once they reach 5 to 7% humidity, then we can start the packaging process.
So we're in the dry room.
Yeah, we are. So we're submerged in mushrooms here.
Very loud.
Yeah, it can be. So the mushrooms come in here, and this is all temperature controlled. We want to accelerate the drying period as quickly as possible. The room is conditioned, and it has a high velocity of air transversing around the room. And
So this is not like cannabis, low and slow. This is fast and hot.
Hot and fast.
Are we damaging the psilocybin by being warm?
No, we're not. So we're approximately 40 to 50 degrees. And I believe we don't go any higher than 54 degrees in this room, which is optimal dehydration for any food or consumable food product.
And they're crispy.
They are crispy, yes. We have samples that go out to ensure that they remain under a 7% moisture content, just so no further microbials grow. And the mushrooms are also like a sponge. So if you are leaving these in open air without dehumidification and or dehydrating effects, they will reabsorb water.
Okay.
So after this period, they are quickly and diligently packaged and vacuum sealed with nitrogen displacement,
yeah.
as well as a desiccant. And then they are put into the vault after that.
Okay. So vault's ultimately next.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Go back to bed.
Yeah.
Let's go see the vault.
All right. Yeah, so here's our vault. This is a level 8 vault. From my understanding, this has the capacity to hold $50 million worth of materials.
So we're talking about like James Bond, motion censored, floors censored.
Absolutely,
This is like the highest level vault.
Yeah, and this is directly connected to the RCMP and the local detachment here. I am on the call list. If anything is to happen, it goes to security. If he's unavailable, it'll come to me. And then I have to verify through a code word to ensure that there is or is not an issue.
Well, what's the code word?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
All right, Justin, so we are in the vault, and what we have here is each bin containing 5 to 10 pounds of dried biomass.
Okay.
And they are pretty much floor to ceiling in most areas here. I think we have approximately 500 pounds in here.
500 pounds.
Yeah, so we're quickly using it though, because we do have an extraction team and they are busy at work. So as much as we're growing it, we're also depleting it, and it's going into the extract, which I had shown you already.
This currently still is not legal in Canada.
We have a dealer's license and a research license, so we are able to produce and sell these mushrooms as well, given we can find the buyers for it. So we do have some contracts to other areas, other countries, and other research and universities that are looking to do all of the research on the psilocybin and other constituents. This is such an early stage in this entire movement or transition that we comb the world to find out our options. So what we have here is, this is our retain samples, our lab samples. So each time that we produce a batch or produce any mushrooms, we collect a certain volume and then we hold it for stability and for further testing or analysis if we need it. We're currently working right now to have our HPLC set up, and we've just employed a new person for a lab technician.
Super. So in-house.
That is going to take care of all our in-house testing, yeah.
That's exciting. So you can actually standardize and look in-house.
In real time.
In real time. That's neat.
Yeah. So this is where the genetic bank development is really going to start taking a hold, because now we can grow it, we can see it, we can view it, we can catalog it, and we can also get the profile.
It's amazing. Scott, thank you so much for taking us on an
thank you.
amazing tour. This is our first foray into psilocybin mushrooms, and I'm really happy that you got to
come back anytime.
Show us around.
You're always welcome.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
As we conclude our exploration of this fascinating world of fungi, let me leave you with a simple thought. It doesn't matter so much what you grow or where you grow. What truly matters is that you grow. Growing is a form of art with a true essence lying in the act of cultivation itself. You can quote me on that. Until our paths cross again, this grow has been exposed. See you next time.